is changing, for better or for worse. Humans have contributed a lot to the environment, for better or for worse. Why sustainability is so trending these days? We can answer most of these questions with the help of data. What have we done so bad to the environment? Let us visualize.
As a community, we must take up more efforts to ensure a better future for our planets and its inhabitants. AQI levels and CO2 emissions has been rising at an alarming rate, both at a global level and in India. This graph we can see shows the CO2 emissions from years 1990 to 2019 in three regions: India, South Asia, and the world. The biggest reason for CO2 emissions is burning fossil fuels. As the CO2 content in the atmosphere increases, the amount of heat trapped by Earth's atmosphere increases, leading to higher global warming. So, governments across the world should take greater initiatives and aid the energy-intensive industries in making the transition from fossil fuels to renewable sources of energy. From the graph, it is clear that the level of CO2 emissions has continued to rise from 1990 to 2019 in India and South Asia. When it comes to the world graph, CO2 emissions had increased till 2013. Since then, the graph has been on the decreasing trend. This is a very good sign for us. If more and more countries adhere to strict emission restrictions, these emissions level will further go down, thus making the air we breathe more safer. Let's talk about this graph, which shows the AQI data trend over the years in India starting from 1987 to 2020. But before we do that, let's discuss what do we mean by AQI. AQI stands for Air Quality Index. Governmental organizations employ an air quality index to inform the public of how polluted the air is or will be. Looking at the graph, we can see that from 1987 to 2003, the values of AQI hover around a constant value with slight fluctuations. However, beginning with 2004, the graph shows an alarming increase which points towards a stark decline in air quality. Basically, this points to the fact that human activity over the years has increased air pollution and thus led to dip in quality. As responsible citizens, we must thus focus on ways to reduce emissions in order to have a cleaner and greener future. The graph roughly shows the AQI to hover around a constant value with some minor fluctuations in between. And from 2003 to 2007, the graph shows an increasing trend pointing towards constant decline in air quality. From 2007 to 2015, the graph becomes fluctuating in nature with some crests and troughs all over. The AQI shows variations, sometimes increasing, sometimes decreasing. From 2015 to 2019, there's a constant increase in AQI data showing a clean linear increasing trend. As the AQI has increased alarmingly between 2015 to 2019, the company should focus on using sustainable methods to reduce the emissions which contribute to the AQI emission. This graph that you can see here depicts the levels of NO2 and SO2 from 1987 to 2015. The left axis depicts NO2 level and the right axis depicts SO2 level. The y-axis represents the year. If an individual is exposed to NO2 for longer durations, they have high chances of developing asthma and other respiratory related infections. Similarly, when exposed to high concentrations of SO2, inflammation and irritation of the internal respiratory system can occur. From the graph, we can see that from the year starting 1987 to 2003, both the levels of NO2 and SO2 have been fairly constant. But starting from 2004, the levels of NO2 and SO2 started rising exponentially. The major source of NO2 and SO2 in the atmosphere is burning fossil fuels. So the general public, governments across the world, and commercial industries all should make a concerted effort to reduce the burning of fossil fuels by switching to renewable sources of energy.